Hello everyone, welcome to our poster presentation. I'm Tan and I work with Dr. Christopher Leone from Department of Psychology on this project. Belief consistency is a mediator for mere thought and schema tuning effects on attitude polarization. To start with, let's think about a time that you have a really strong opinion about something and other people tell you that you are overthinking about it. So in psychology, we name that phenomenon as the mere thought effect, which proposes that thinking will make your attitude become more extreme. Specifically, if you have an initially positive attitude, then after thinking, it will become even more positive, and similarly for initially negative attitude. Previous research has found that the longer time you spend on thinking, the more extreme your attitude become. For the next sections, let's start with an example. I have quite an ambiguous appearance with short hair, and people would think that I'm a boy until they hear my voice. So by mistaking me as a boy at the first glance, people rely on schema, which is the knowledge that we have and expect in a certain thing. My short hair fit with the schema of a boy in most people, and that's why they are very quick to believe that I'm a boy. In the mere thought effect, schema are like the boosting panel in some racing game. When we have a well-developed schema, in other words, when we know a lot about something, such as a particular individual, then the more we think about that, the more boosted our attitude will become toward the extreme side. On the other hand, when we don't know much about something, and the more we think about that, the more deboosted or the less extreme our attitude become. For thought and attitude related belief, the attitude that we hold depend on what we believe, and our beliefs can be modified during thinking through three microprocesses, typically under the influence of what schema we are using at the time. So back to the example about my appearance and my soft voice. When people see my short hair, which fits with the schema of a boy they have, they generate the new belief that I'm a boy. But when they hear my voice, now they have ambiguous beliefs, and they may think that my voice is a more convincing indicator of my gender. So now they switch to the girl schema and interpret my ambiguous appearance as me being a girl. So that's the second point here. And lastly, the belief that I'm a boy is no longer consistent with the girl schema, so now it's gone or discounted. For the hypothesis of this study, we have here that thought will influence how the attitude change, and that belief is the potential missing link between these two variables. Here we focus on belief consistency. Additionally, we also examine the role of schema and how it will influence this relationship we have here. For the method section, we have 123 participants. They are first exposed to 30 sets of personality description, and they are asked to indicate their attitude about each set on a 15-point scale like this. Out of the 30 sets here, 2 sets of rating +4 and 2 sets of rating -4 are randomly picked out. Participants are then randomly put in one of the thinking conditions. They will think about these 4 sets as either individual terrorists or a group of terrorists for 30 seconds or 90 seconds. Here we use the terrorist as the attitude object or the target, because we want the participant to specifically use a schema with the negative associated attitude. During the thinking time, the participant will also list out any thought that they have about that particular set they are thinking about, and then re-indicate their attitude on a similar 15-point scale. The thought that they have listed will be coded as either consistent or inconsistent with their initial attitude, and then that will form an index for belief consistency. For the result, we only have one significant effect. Right here. This result is interpreted as when people have initially negative attitude about a particular set of personality description, and they think about that set as the characteristic of a group of terrorists. Then the more they think, the less consistent the belief they generate, and the less extreme the attitude become. From this result, we have two significant conclusions. Firstly, belief consistency is a mediator for the effect that we have found. In other words, thinking causes change in one's attitude because thinking influences how consistent the belief that person generates. And the effect we have here only for initially negative attitude, which seem to align with the schema of terrorists. Another significant conclusion is that the result we have is unexpected in two ways. Firstly, it happens when participants use the group schema, which was typically a less developed schema compared to individual one in previous literature. Another thing is that we have an opposite with what we expect in typical method effect. So participants with more thinking time ultimately have their attitude less polarized. The current study have some limitation, however. Firstly, it's about how thought was assessed. Here we assume that the longer people think, the more thought they would generate totally, which may not always be the case. So future researchers may try out other ways to assess thoughts, such as actually count the exact number of thoughts generated during a particular time, in order to examine this variable in a more nuanced way. Another thing is about the symbol and the choice of the attitude object as terrorist. We have a symbol of college student, so it's quite reasonable to think that college students tend to think of terrorists as a whole group rather than a specific individual. So in this case, the group schema is in fact a better developed one, which may have influenced the unexpected result that we have obtained. Another thing about the terrorist schema is that it is associated with negative connotation and attitudes, which may explain why we have only the effect when participants have initially negative attitude. So if we use a schema with positive associated attitude, say freedom fighter, it's reasonable to expect that we will have similar effect only when participants have initially positive attitude. And future research may also examine other variables like belief confidence as a mediator or other personality variables as the moderator for this mere thought model. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you for joining me.